Today I will be discuss about of the wetland and mangrove ones. What is the importance of the wetland and the mangrove ones? Because the wetland question also asked prelim 2020-22 and ramsar side also asked this question, and mangrove ones also importance of the mangrove ones and the wetland. Then the wetland are the transition zones of ecosystem between the territorial and aquatic systems. You have realized the wetland why the important and the static flowing and the fresh of the rocks and the saline, the including the marine water depth which is the low tide and the not is the stream of the night tide. Examples: the mangrove lake, literature, floodplain areas, and other marshy and swampy areas. Marshy and swampy like a mangrove ones because the uh, rain for rain maximum. Then hydrogen soil occupation इतने परसेंट and the country which is the 70% under the paddy cultivation. Paddy होगी maximum because there is the massive cultivation. Then move on the other section. Wetland is the wetland divided in the inland wetland and also the coastal wetland. Then inland divided in further two parts. First is the natural and other is the man-made. Then the coastal wetland can be also divided two parts, natural and man-made. So natural and man-made further divided after two parts. नेचुरल में आपकी इनलैंड वेटलैंड में नेचुरल में आ जाएगी लेक, पॉन्ड, कट ऑफ द मेंडर्स लाइक दिस फॉर्म and the swamp and marsh wetland load man-made like reservoir tanks and the coastal wetland में आ जाएगा estuary, lagoon, crack, coral reefs, mangrove and the aquaculture and the salt pan. So I have released you have estuary because these type of river flowing then estuary and lagoon. I have also the Chilka Lake, Vemanad Lake. This is lagoon and the crack like two rivers crack and the coral reefs. I have also mentioned coral reefs these times and these types, and the mangrove ones like West Bengal, Sundarban, aquatic culture. Then move on the other topic, types of the wetland. Types of wetlands types क्या है? marine wetland, estuarian wetland, luxuriant wetland, riverine and pedestrian and human-made wetland. Then marine wetland is the including the coastal lagoon and the rocky shores of the coral reefs, estuary including to the marsh and the mangrove swamp, and the wetland associated with the lake and the wetland river of the stream, and the meaning marshy is the marshy swamp of the bog, and the human-made wetland is the such as the fish and the shrimp and the pond, also the irrigation and the lamps. This is the reservoir grave to the because of the divided of the wetland. What is the types? First is the marine types, marine, then other estuary type, luxury type, rivers, mountain, human made. Then why the wetland can be the work from. Then you have realized why the importance of the wetland, how to wetland work, because there is the rivers, and the deposition of energy. Groundwater flow, this is the recharge of the groundwater. Bacteria and the break and the content, and the extreme patent of the water. This is the water system and the slow reserve of the streams, and the clear water flow and the provisions of the wetland competition. Then wetland are the heterogeneous mixtures planet which is the occupied. The types of the pits type or pits. Wetland is the forest bog and the contribution largest productions of the wetland. Then various FGIs postals. Then move on the next topics. Your what is the wetland category wise divided? What is the function of wetland? कैरेक्टर्स क्या हैं लेक्स क्या हैं वेटलैंड एंड द सालो लेक्स ओरिजिन कहाँ से होता है वेटलैंड टर्न ओवर एंड द वाटर लेवल चेंज थर्मल सेंचुरी एंड आल्सो thermal structures and the version dominant product food chain productivity thorn status function food control waste management waste treatment lakes largest due to the textures of the fluence geographical and the table of performance permanent. Then wetland as the shallow lake mostly flew to the residential lake permanent temporary related to the larger no. The thermal is also the thermal relativity wind regulated pollutant photoplankton and in the marshy plankton. लो होगा तो हाई होगा. The organic है तो mostly equatorial. Less significant है तो significant होगा. No S. The wetland temperate. This is the wetland biodiversity of the matters. For the climate and biodiversity perspective से and for the cleaning of the water because there is the wetland needed. Why the wetland of the matter important to the human resource wetland and biodiversity. Then 30% of the base of the carbon storage in the peatland and the role of the food migration in the controlling of the rate of runoff. The act repairing buffer against to the pollutant habitat equated flora and fauna is the species migration of the bird. Clean the water, the swamp and the rewarded review to pollutant and water purification and filtrations. And this is the water and the nutrient and nutrient of the recycled groundwater recharging to the estimate of the local timing for job. 1 million people dependent of the wetland in their livelihood. For economics, the wetland provide for the 47 trillion service annually. That is the resource of the tourism generation that is the pollutant. And other section move on रीजन्स ऑफ द डेवलपमेंट. वाई द रीजन्स क्या हैं इसको डेवलपमेंट करने के लिए वेटलैंड एंड excuse pollutant of the damped and the wetland beyond the circle of capacity habitat of the distracted deforestations and the conservation wetland agriculture and the overseeding of the fish farming aquaculture overgrazing marshy reform of the wetland and other terms. The measurement of the protection wetland because there is the प्रोटेक्शन तो देना है तो व्हाट इज द गवर्नमेंट कैन बी गिवन. रामसर कन्वेंशन इन द ईरान आल्सो दिस इज द रामसर कन्वेंशन साइट. इंडिया हैज़ 75 रामसर साइट हो गई. द वेटलैंड इज द अकाउंट ऑफ द 140 टोटल ऑफ द जियोग्राफिकल एरिया. चिरका लेक इज द रामसर साइट लेक एंड द केवला देव नेशनल पार्क इज द फर्स्ट रामसर साइट. द उत्तर प्रदेश नॉट द Tamil Nadu has largest Ramsar site. This is the 40 and then the Uttar Pradesh have 10. उत्तर प्रदेश साइड 10, तमिलनाडु आपका 40 हो गया है एंड उत्तर प्रदेश आपका सेकेंड नंबर पे आ गया, उसके पास 10 रामसर साइड है। And Renku wetland is the smallest wetland. There is the data can updated because there is data was the below. Montrex रिकॉर्ड है, मॉन्ट्रेक्स टू रिकॉर्ड हो गया, ये रामसर साइड हो गई, अब रिकॉर्ड हो जाओ। द रीजन्स ऑफ द वेटलैंड कंजर्वेशंस, wetland is the least wetland is the important of where is the Kevladev National Park, Manipur Chilka Lake, that is the important Ramsar site in India, and location you have seen, this is the India. There is the 75 Ramsar site currently today. You have seen that and go to the Google and search that. कंजर्वेशन फॉर एफर्ट फॉर इंडिया, अब इनको कंजर्वेशन में क्या एफर्ट लगेगा, एफर्ट फॉर इंडिया, नेशनल पार्क फॉर कंजर्वेशन aquatic ecosystem, the both of the lake and the center response and the scheme and the authority, the wetland conservation Ramsar management rule of 2017. Then mangrove ones, your application sites are under the mangrove one, you have mangrove one, your wetland is the ended and mangrove one is the mangrove ecosystem is the character that the forest in the mostly evergreen forest grow to the shelter, low cost and the estuary and the must utils in the marsh lagoon, it is the tropical cancer the latitude में पाया जाएगा। The protection shoreline affect the cyclone, tsunami and the breeding swampy groundwater commercial important fishes. It is the coastal vegetable faculty is the lowland and there is the high radiation soils, massive. Then mangrove one is the overall India in the 2.1% of the world mangrove vegetation. Eastern coast of the Sundarbans largest and the Black Hole and the forest and the Royal Bengal is the tiger and the Bhitarkanika, Odisha, Godavari, Krishna regions and the others region. You have go through the map, then you have realized what is the mangrove founded. First your Sundarban mangrove forest, Krishna basin, Krishna Godavari basin, Goa mangrove and the Ratnagiri mangrove of the Gujarat, and this is the and the Kaveri Delta, Andaman Nicobar also the west coast, ये आपका ईस्टर्न कोस्ट है। देन वेस्टर्न कोस्ट में इतने हैं, that is the Maharashtra, Goa. You have also I have mentioned what is the can be founded. You have this figure can be learned. You have most important mangrove one, importance क्या है mangrove one के, then you have realized mangrove of the service, mangrove of the service इको टूरिज्म के लिए बढ़ाया जाता है। देन यू हैव कोस्टल प्रोटेक्शन एंड इतने परसेंट ऑफ द हाई रिड्यूसिंग ऑफ द फ्लड रिस्क एंड वाइल्ड लाइफ हैबिटेट के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है। क्लीन वाटर करता है। यू हैव लर्न दैट कार्बन स्टोरेज मैक्सिमम बिकॉज फॉरेस्ट से ज़्यादा आपका कार्बन रिस्टोर्स या रिकैप्चर रिसाइकलिंग इमिशन करता है मैंग्रोव फॉरेस्ट। देन मूव ऑन अदर द थ्रेट्स क्या है मैंग्रोव, व्हाई द आई हैव प्रोटेक्टेड दीज एरियाज। फर्स्ट यूज है थ्रेटेड ऑन मैंग्रोव नेचुरल थ्रेट, द साइक्लोन हो गया, टाइफून हो गया, स्ट्रॉन्ग वेव्स एंड द trembling overgrazing of the well-dived livestock, mangrove and desert crabs and the youngest disease, anthropologic threat जैसे like human agriculture agriculture others, then move on the other sections, because what is the problem of these types of the mangrove ones and the forest? You have realized that, and you have also that some situation you could handle it. Then the threats of the agriculture field and the coastal development, searching and the coral lumber industries, and the conservation of the, अब इसको कंजर्वेट तो करना पड़ेगा, तो सम स्टार्टअप गवर्नमेंट स्कीम, यू हैव द कोस्टल रेगुलेशन जोन रूल्स, स्मार्ट है स्पेशल फॉर, then Andhra Pradesh Eco Development we ban, and then Maharashtra and develop the Mangrove Forest Institute. Then you have realized the development of the ecosystem only needed to this conservation, and you have realized mangrove forest and not developed. This is the wetland and mangrove one ended your class. Then you move on other section. Thank you for watching this videos.